Nabeel Azeez. I am a direct response copywriter based out of Dubai, and I also co-own and co-run a boutique content agency or marketing agency with my brother called Dropkick Copy. Typically, I do the copywriting work myself as and when it comes along, but with Dropkick Copy, we do more content-related stuff like podcast launches and um, blog writing and stuff like that.
Awesome. Jeff here actually said he bought your book. He said he loves it. It's worth it.
Oh
Awesome.
yeah, Jeff. Hopefully, I'll finish the book soon, and you'll get the actual finished copy.
Oh, so it's not finished yet?
Oh no, I've got about 8 chapters left to write, and then I think I'm not gonna do a digital version. I'll just do a hardback version, and I was planning on getting it, printed and stuff from Latvia, and then getting fulfillment done by this company called Printful, and they have a fulfillment center in Latvia in America as well.
Okay,
So
cool.
yeah, that's another mission.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm doing with my sales book. Uh, I sold it weeks ago, but I still haven't finished it. It's just one of those things, right? Where it's better to sell it first, gauge interest, and then go from there.
100%, 100%. I had originally planned to write it in 1 month, so I guess 30 chapters, 30 days, because it's like the people buy it and they get added to an autoresponder, and then I just write one chapter a day, and whenever the chapter is published, then it goes out to them automatically. But it's
Oh, okay.
it's a year later now, and I still have 8 chapters left.
That happens, man. Like, you know what? It's funny. Like, I started to write this book, and then after I got some sales, I was like, oh shit, do I really want to write this book? But it's
Yeah.
one of those
Well,
things, right?
I think what's probably happening is, and I think it's the same for me as well, is that I'm sort of like putting like subconsciously putting brakes on myself because I don't want the book to suck. When
Yeah.
really it's better to get the first draft out as fast as possible and then spend more time editing. And that's probably the only like the issue that I have to overcome.
Well, yeah, same thing, right? Like, you want to be perfect. Like, you want to have the perfect book, make sure they get their value or their money's worth. Um, but that can, make it take a long time.
Hmm.
So maybe we can dive into questions now. If you guys have any
Yep.
questions, just fire away for Nabil. Some guy in the group asked you yesterday. I think you kind of answered, but it might be worth answering here as well. Um,
Yep.
I think he asked you for some tips on writing, really persuasive and really good headlines. And I know it's kind of a vague question, but I wonder if you have any insight
Yeah.
on that.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. The best advice I can give people to write better headlines is actually to write a lot of headlines until you put headlines out there and get data back, get feedback back from the actual market, the people that you're trying to sell to or whatever you're trying to get them to do. You won't know
Hmm.
what's going to work. Like you can use headline formulas to get a feel for it. The thing is, once you're writing in a market and once you understand the market, you will start to be able to break the rules. And those kinds of headlines look nothing like the headlines that headline formulas come up with.
Yeah.
And what happens is sometimes people will see those headlines that they don't follow any of the other rules and they try to swipe those headlines and use them for their market, but the market is completely different, so the headline bombs.
Yeah.
So it's all about one, understanding your market, two, writing a lot of headlines and testing a lot of headlines, and three, for the most part, especially if you're writing to a warm audience, the headlines really don't matter. So if you're doing daily emails, you'll find this out very fast. It really doesn't matter what your headline is, as long as they've opted in, and as long as you are respecting their time and respecting their inbox and not sending them crap, your open rates and engagement are pretty much going to stay stable.
Yeah. I remember reading somewhere that with emails, most of your, like, what dictates the open rate is the actual, like, the relationship you have with your subscribers. But that's great. Have you ever had it where you write, like, 20, 30 headlines, and then you end up going back to the first one that you wrote and said, you know what, this is the best one, I'm gonna try this one?
That actually hasn't happened to me. More recently, what I've been doing is I actually don't even write the headline until I finish writing what I want to write, and then I pull the headline from there. Let's say, for example, I'm writing a blog post, I'm writing show notes. I'll pull the title of the episode and the headline for the show notes
Yeah.
from, after I finish writing the bullets for the show notes.
Okay.
Because as I'm writing, I find something that I want to use as the headline.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Um, some guy in the Slack group yesterday, where is it? Oh yeah. So this guy asked, I'd be interested in just having him talk about his writing process. Does he start with a swipe, write an outline, dump shit on a page, and fix it later, or like what's sort of your process?
Right. So uh, my process, if I'm writing copy for a client, it starts with the onboarding and the marketing questionnaire that I send them, and that's quite detailed. Uh, I have them go through, and this marketing questionnaire is the one that I use right now is probably available for free. If you go to the Cult of Copy Facebook group, Colin Therio has it there. It's the who, what, when, where, why, what if framework, and then you basically answer all of those questions. So who, what, when, where, who, what, when, where, why, what if for your prospect, and then for yourself as well. And then once you get that back, for the most part, that's even if you do zero research, you can come up with something pretty decent. But then
Yeah.
after that, you want to go in and you want to start uh, researching the market. I haven't had to I haven't had to write copy where I had to do like a crazy amount of research so far, but that's only because I haven't been doing it that long, like full time. However, if I had to write, like a serious sales letter where they're buying traffic and
Yeah.
a lot is riding on it, then I would take quite a long time to first do the research, and then after that, it's all about sort of getting your shitty first draft out as fast as possible, and then copywriting is more copy editing than it is writing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And for your clientele, like, do you typically work with one kind of client, or is it just kind of broad? Because I know
Um,
some copywriters want to work with like one specific type of client or one like certain job, like funnels or whatever, or ad copy.
yeah. Um, so it's become like a thing now where you're supposed to niche down as a copywriter, and that's like all the rage now. However, like while I sort of get the argument in the sense that you become known, it's more like a branding play than it is an actual expertise play, where you position yourself as the copywriter for, let's say, financial advisors trying to set up funnels for lead generation or something like that. Uh, I haven't actually gotten around to niching down yet. So I've been able to write in many niches and many various kinds of copy. So I've written long form sales letters for consultants. I've written lead generation ads and landing pages for a bespoke men's suit store. I've written sales email funnels for a men's testosterone boosting supplement. Lots of different copy for lots of different people. And I think that being like a sort of a generalist gun for hire has its own sort of benefit because it's I don't know, maybe it's like a romantic view of copywriting where I'm big on tradition, where like even now you'll have a lot of people shitting on handwriting ads
Yeah.
because like how does that work to improve your copy or whatever, but like the greats swore by it, and if it's good enough for like Gary Bencivenga and
It's good
Gary
enough for you.
Halbert,
Yeah.
it's good
Yeah.
enough for me. And it's the
Yeah.
same thing
Exactly.
with writing copy. Like Bob Bly has written for hundreds of industries. Gary
Yeah.
Halbert, same thing. Gary Bencivenga, same thing. Like they're able to write in any industry for any kind of product, for any kind of They can write any kind of copy. It's just a matter of understanding the audience, all right, understanding the product and the business, and then using the very simple copywriting principles. And obviously, you have to have a little bit of practice and talent for writing as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a lot of copywriters who they'll start, doing work for everyone so that they can kind of figure out who they like to work with. And then later on in their careers, if they want to scale, they'll niche down. But yeah, like you were saying, those like the old time greats were pretty general in the industries that they wrote for.
Yeah. If you think about it, a copywriter is just a professional problem solver. He's got to solve a sales problem. So, like, even when he comes up with the campaign, he's coming up with a campaign based on the unique needs of that particular business. It's not really a one size fits all approach.
Yeah.
However, having said that, I will say that I may like sort of focus more on writing in the men's health niche because just that's something that I'm like that's an area that I'm interested in, and it's easier to write if you actually care about the subject.
Oh yeah, for sure. Um, oh yeah. So this same guy also asked, just going through the questions now, on the Slack group. Joey asked, another question I have is, how does he know when he's finished? Personally, I often get lost in tweaking, refining, rewriting, etc.
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, like you can keep optimizing like forever, but however, you won't know how like whether your letter is going to work or bomb until you actually start running traffic to it, which is why it's so important that you get data back from your clients whether your copy worked or not. And if it doesn't work, then you go in and you ask, can I take a look at it and see what's wrong, and then maybe I could help you fix it. That's the only way you're going to get good. But like I think it just comes after, like it comes with experience, and as you get some wins under your belt and projects completed, you'll have more experience that okay, it's done now. It's good enough to run. And the other thing I would say is that you always want to have um, somebody who is more experienced, especially when you're starting out. Look over your copy. So let's say you've gotten a gig for you're writing, let's say, some lead gen copy for like a real estate
Yeah,
broker, yeah, and they're paying you like 3K or whatever to write the copy, plus however many leads you get, like a flat fee per the leads. I would, if I was you, I would go get a copy critique from David Garfinkel or somebody like that. He charges $1,500 for a copy critique. Well worth the money.
for sure.
If I mean, yeah, whatever. Your profits are cut in half, but if you're gonna get a successful piece of copy out of it, you're gonna get more work. One, you get better, more referrals. Your copy will work better, which means you get more leads, and then you get paid better on performance as well. So
Yeah,
that's probably the number one thing I would recommend is have the copy looked at by a pro or somebody experienced.
yeah. It's actually funny that you mentioned at the start to get the data back from your client. I've spoken to so many copywriters again who they don't get the data back from their client. Like they don't know if it works, how well it works, all the stuff like that. I think that's important for guys to actually proactively seek this data because some clients won't give you anything back.
I've had situations. I mean, maybe it's the copywriter's fault for not following up or not being specific about that. But I've had situations where
Yeah,
I wanted to get data back from the client, but they pretty much ghost you. So I've had two situations where I followed up with the clients extensively on several occasions, but they didn't. Once I delivered the copy, that was the end of it. So that's not very helpful, but
it happens, right? Too.
it happens. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah. So Ron asked, this is a good question. He asked, you positioned yourself as Dubai's most expensive copywriter. What's the story behind this?
Oh yeah, that was more of a like an SEO play. I wanted to see if that would have an effect in terms of branding. It was more of an experiment
Sure.
to see one how how it would sort of play out in terms of brand queries and search engine rankings and things like that,
Yeah.
and how people would react to it. Now, I will say it was very popular among the copywriting fraternity.
Oh, for sure.
Um, yeah, but because it's like it's Dubai, most expensive, yada yada yada, whatever.
Yeah.
However, it didn't actually generate a lot of business. I'm assuming because it scared people off. So
Just because
don't
the
call
price.
yourself
Yeah.
the yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
which is fine if they were scaring off the wrong kind of prospect. However, one thing I noticed about the tagline, while it was it's a fun tagline, but it speaks more about it's more like me as opposed to what can I do for the client.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it is, right? But I thought it was pretty funny, anyways. I thought it was pretty cool. Um,
Yeah.
uh, Ron also asked, the same guy said, how do we position ourselves similarly or effectively, especially if we're starting out? So this is actually a good question.
Okay. So like they want to position themselves as premium.
Not, oh yeah, it just says premium, or like what's the best way to position themselves? Is there, if they're completely new, they have no, case studies, testimonials, anything like that.
Um, I would probably not waste time on things like positioning, other than do like the basics of okay, that's one of the benefits of niching down if you're like a beginner, because it helps you sort of focus on who the type of a prospect that you're going after, and that is a kind of positioning in and of itself. So I would probably focus more on finding people who will let you write for them and then give you guidance on how well your copy performs or your ads perform or whatever it is service that you're providing. And then I would use that to sort of build my brand and reputation. So the beginning of your copywriting career or your career as a service provider should be like you should have a persona of the quiet professional. The quiet professional is what they call special forces people, particularly the Army Rangers. Like you need to like online on social media, you need to like shut the fuck up and just get
Get
work
the
done
work. Yeah.
and get results, and after that you can start talking a little bit. And even when you start talking, it should be about the results that you've gotten for your clients. You should be talking about
Yeah.
experiments that you've ran, and this was what we tried, and this is what happened. So that's the kind of, then you move sort of into the sort of the mad scientist or like curious novice persona, where you're trying new stuff and you're sharing it with the world. If you don't have any clients, like if you're super brand new and you don't have any clients whatsoever, then you could write ads or copy up for imaginary products, or go find a product on ClickBank and write copy for that. There's so many different ways where you can get you can build up a sort of build up like a list of a book of work that you can show people.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess a good follow-up question to this would be, when you're just starting out, what's the best way to get clients? Like, should you use Upwork, freelancer sites, post in Facebook groups? What's the best way to get your first client?
I would basically cold email people or cold call people. I think LinkedIn is quite good for that because it's that people are there for business.
Yeah.
Um, so LinkedIn is a good option. Cold emailing is a good option. Cold calling is also a good option. People sort of, one thing I notice is that all this stuff about Upwork and posting on Facebook and hanging out in Facebook groups is sort of like an avoidance mechanism to actually do the anxiety-inducing work of putting yourself out there, and putting your services out there, in sort of outbound sales.
Yeah.
So everybody's trying to do inbound, but inbound is like a long-term thing. It's inbound. The results of inbound happened over years, not even days, not even months. So if you're just brand new starting out, it's 100% outbound, and it's
Okay.
a numbers game too. So like maybe you need to send 100 emails or 200 emails to get like a 5% or 10% response, and then you close like 10% of that. So you're getting like a like one new client a week or one new client a month or two, or however many that is. Having said that, there is like um, the idea of organic posting on social media. Yes, it does work. So this is typically what a lot of service providers do, is that they'll post in Facebook groups and they'll post on their wall and they'll build their brand that way. And I'm sure this is what I was in a program called Client Kit by the guys at Traffic and Funnels, Taylor
Yeah,
Welch and
yeah.
Chris Evans. And this is sort of what Sam Ovens teaches as well, consulting.com, and what Russ Ruffino teaches at Clients on Demand. So that's more like organic social media posting. But again, that has a delayed response to it. That's why they call it lead indicators and lag indicators, right? The most direct response thing that you could do is the outbound emails.
Yeah.
You send out a bunch of emails and then you get a response or no response.
Yeah, and I mean, like most guys can't even stick to like the inbound methods, like posting in groups long enough to even get results. Like they'll quit after a week, right? When they need to stick with it for months on end, keep posting content, keep posting value. But similarly to cold emails, I found guys like in my program, for example, who they'll cold email for 2 days. Maybe they'll send 60 cold emails and they'll be like, hey, I have no clients yet. Why isn't this working for me? I mean, cold email, like you can get results from your first email, but sometimes it takes a couple hundred, right? Like there's no kind of benchmark there, but it's just important to stay consistent with that. And I think that's a huge thing too. Um, so something that we actually ask all copywriters who've been on this, like we asked Dennis Demore this too. What's your top 2 tips maybe for cold emails to get, your message across?
Um, well, the first thing is you want to research the person that you're emailing. That seems like basic bitch advice, but really it really helps, because these people they get cold emailed a lot, most likely, especially if they're in the marketing. If you're emailing somebody in the marketing department, they're getting hundreds or dozens or hundreds of emails a week from like SEO guys in India saying, "Oh, we couldn't find your website on Google. We can help you get top one
Yeah.
rankings," and like link builders saying, "Hey, I read your article on like they send a template email asking for links back to their content or stuff like that." So research the person, and then if you want to, you want to make sure that you personalize the email. And this is going to take work, and it's not easy to send out a lot of these outbound emails, because if you do it the right way, it actually takes quite a while. But after you do it a bunch of times, then you get the hang of it, and then you can send them a little faster. Um, a lot of people try to find a way to scale this by automating. I would
Yeah.
suggest that don't automate it at first. Like send the first 100, 200, maybe even 500 yourself, so that you know how the sausage is made. Then you can figure out, okay, how can I automate this a little bit better, or how can I do this a
Yeah.
little bit better at scale? Um,
Yeah. Because that
second,
was actually
sec,
going to be a follow up. Yeah. It was about
yeah.
automating. Yeah. Okay.
Then the second tip is obviously headlines, and that really comes from volume. So the more of these outbound emails you send, you'll find find out which headlines are going to work better, which goes back to our first question that we answered from one of your students in the group, right?
Yeah.
Uh, the more of these outbound emails you send, the more headlines you write. Um, the better you're going to get at getting those emails opened. Now, there is sort of this sort of dichotomy. It's sort of like a yin and yang thing, where you have these super curiosity inducing headlines, which will be
Question for
like
you,
hey,
or yeah.
hey, or like first name question mark, yeah, or quick question. But the thing is, yes, those are curiosity inducing and it'll get the open. However, it can be a little bit clickbaity. So you
Yeah.
need to strike a balance between inducing curiosity and um, respecting the person that you're emailing, respecting his time. And if you talk to email marketing experts like Jason Henderson, he talks about, he sort of breaks down how they were taught at Mech Labs about the Obama campaign and how good their email marketing was, and the type of subject lines they used in the email marketing campaign when Obama was running for president. and they were like these subject lines like, "Hey," or "Are you coming?" question mark,
Okay.
that kind of stuff. And then he was like, those headlines only worked because it was Obama sending them.
Yeah, that's true.
They were like it's sort of like faulty reasoning. So what Jason Henderson says is that the more yes, it should be written with curiosity, but the more detail you can give in the headline as to the contents of the email, the better that email is going to perform in terms of the response.
Yeah.
And yeah, this applies with, when you're selling something, and it also applies when you're trying to get a response on cold emails to sell your services.
Yeah, because it seems like everybody, especially nowadays, is so focused on getting their email open that they forget about the conversion actually, right? Like they want to track that 50 to 100% open rate, but the conversion rate is kind of falling by the wayside a little bit. David Stewart asked, what are some effective copywriting frameworks to use? I'm not sure what type of copy, but I don't know if you're talking about like sales funnels, like landing pages, ads, or whatever, but I don't know if you can answer that.
Yeah, I just do ADA, attention, interest, desire, action.
Mm-hmm.
That always works, and it never, like, you can't break it. If you break it, then your stuff doesn't work. And I like to open with PAS, problem, agitate, solution. So those are the two things that I sort of rely on. Those are my fallbacks, like my go-to things. Like
Yes.
I'll always, whenever I can, I'll start with a problem as much as possible. In fact, like I don't even, probably maybe like out of like 10 tries, I might do one where I lead with like the USP or the value proposition. Like 90% of my stuff is like problem first, problem, agitate, solution, and then I follow the attention, interest, desire, action framework.
It's proven for a reason, right? It works. Like there's no
Yeah,
use straying from something that
yeah,
works just to call it
yeah,
unique.
yeah. And it's less shit to remember as well, because you have this like six different like, what is it, letters to sort of remember. Okay, now I got to do this and this and this and this and this, and then you sort of get mixed up.
Yeah, like the PAS one's so easy, right? Like just
Yeah.
like the most easiest one. His second question for you was, what are the main things, like the key ingredients that separate a good sales page from a bad one, a horrible one?
Shit. I mean,
Obviously, call to action.
well, the first thing is
Yeah,
like nobody, like, from the outside looking in, nobody can say with 100% certainty whether it's a good sales page or a bad sales page. It might look like total shit to you, but it's converting like a motherfucker.
yeah.
You need to see what it looks like on the back end.
Steve in the group, and I don't know if you can answer this, said, Nabeel, what pain points did you hit for the bespoke clothing business you wrote for?
I can't remember. That was like a few months ago. Let me just try to remember.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and if you guys have any more questions, just post in the group. I'm just getting through all the ones right now in the Slack, so just fire away.
Yeah. So okay, I remember one now. We were like the store was in, I believe it was like Fresno or something like that, and the people in Fresno, this is like in like Southern California or something like that. They would have to drive to another like city to get their dress clothing. So that was one of the pain points that we hit. That okay, you can get your get your suits made right in Fresno, without having to drive however many hours. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That was one of them. Another one was, in fact, let me actually pull up I probably have the draft copy here somewhere. Give me a second. Let me take a look.
Yeah, no worries. Was it more location dependent?
Yeah, it was location
Okay,
dependent. It was like a boutique
okay.
store in this one
Yeah.
city.
Let me look for some more questions here too. Yeah, we have a few more in the Facebook group here as well. I might as well ask you this one here now while you're just kind of looking through that one.
Yeah, sure.
You saw this question yesterday in the group, but it might be worth asking. It's not related to copy, but Maverick asked, how do you create value during sales calls? And how do I pitch my service? What should I avoid saying to lose the sale? This is obviously a huge issue for most guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. The thing is, I'm not like really very. I'm not amazing at sales calls. I'm still sort of
Yeah,
learning. I'm sure you've taken way more sales calls than I have. I try to take as many as I can, but sales call is just like it's a numbers game. The more you do, the better you're going to get at it. I
yeah,
will just, for example, I'll just tell you what my teachers taught me is that um, the sales is about like three things. Your only job on the sales call is to get the prospect to make the decision that's in his best interest. That's number one. Number two is the decision that's in his best interests is outside of his comfort zone. Because if it was in his comfort zone, he would have done it already.
yeah,
And number three is the prospect will fight like hell to stay in their comfort zone. Okay? So if you keep these three things in mind, then you won't feel so bad about selling hard because you already know that this is like you go in with your eyes wide open and you know that this is pretty much going to be the interaction and there's going to be resistance and there's going to be objections. But if you believe that your service, your product or service can help these people, then it's like sort of like almost like a religious obligation on you to sell
yeah,
them, and sell them hard. And there's different ways to sell. Some people are just naturally softer sellers. Some people are more aggressive. It really depends. On your personal preference. I know people who are really really super soft. They don't do any hard sales at all, but they kill it. But that's because their branding is so good and their marketing is so good, and they're always serving the market, and they build up so much like social capital that when people do get on the call, it's more of a formality than anything else.
yeah, yeah. Like I can imagine that would be like to, or that's what it would be like to hop on a call with, Frank Kerr and Grant Cardone for like that new offering of theirs, right? Like they both know that you're going to pay them if you say it's a good fit.
Yep,
But
yep,
it's always
yep.
funny that most sales advice is always about the mindset. Like it's not so much what to say, although there is a certain structure you should follow. It's mostly about the mindset and overcoming these hurdles that people have from that have been built since they're a child.
Yeah, and I mean, it's perfect that you mentioned mindset because 99, maybe 90% of the sales call is your mindset as you go into the sales call,
Yeah,
and it's your energy as you go into the sales call, and your mindset and your energy is directly correlated with how you live your life outside of the sales call. So are you like is your lifestyle shitty? Like are you like a slob? Do you eat garbage? Do you like stay up late and sleep in? Are you a disorganized person? Are you bad with your relationships? All of that affects your energy and affects your mindset, and that is going to have a direct effect on your performance during the sales call. So what my teachers say is that sales is like all about energy and how you can control your energy. Where you're sitting in a well lit room and you're dressed, you've got a button up shirt, and you're in a nice office. Okay, what if instead of that you showed up to the sales call in a really dimly lit room with like a candle in your bathrobe? Yeah,
yeah,
and it's not just the perception of like, okay, this guy isn't somebody I should take seriously, but just your entire mood and energy is going to be different compared to what's going on now.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
true.
So
Um,
so I've sorry bro, sorry to interrupt you, bro. So
no
I've I've
worries.
I've pulled up this copy
Oh,
for
sure.
the food store. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, I was right. So one of the angles was we sort of went with the fact that it's local. Yeah. So one of the ads was need a new suit, don't want to drive to Sacramento, book a free 60-minute consultation with one of our men's fashion stylists. right here in Fresno. Click the book now button. Yeah, that's one of the short form ads. For the long form ads, actually, I wrote it more like an advertorial, where so one of them is like how to make an off the rack suit look bespoke. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's like it starts off saying 3,870,000. That's how many web pages we found with the above headline or something close, which raises the question, why not get a bespoke suit in the first place?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
Now I don't
Yeah.
know how well this performed because I didn't get the data back from from the client, but they were written more like an advertorial, and I like the long form ones because one of them was the problem with buying made to measure suits online. So you can see it was sort of like a mini blog post in the ad, and then the landing page.
Yeah.
Landing page was pretty straightforward. I didn't do anything fancy with that because it was just like a lead gen page for a 60-minute like a free consultation. So yeah, it's like the pre-header was tired of driving to Sacramento to buy suits? Question mark. Free 60-minute consultation with an expert men's stylist. And then the subheader was right here in Fresno. And then like it's pretty straightforward. We did. They had quite a few reviews, so we did 50 plus 5-star reviews under the fold after the hero shot. Then we went into sort of the aspirational stuff, and then we had some testimonials and things like that. Straightforward stuff. Once you've written a few landing pages, they're all pretty much the same.
They all fly off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this client didn't even tell you like how the results were. He just kind of vamoosed after the sale, right? After he paid you.
Yeah. And which is weird because if it wasn't working, I was gonna help him rewrite the stuff, and we do this as one is as a professional courtesy, and two because one, we want more work from either the client or as referrals, right? So like any copywriter that's ethical is going to want to do this for their clients, especially if they're charging premium prices, which is also funny because it's the copywriters who don't like to sell, the non-salesy copywriters have this high and mighty this high horse kind of thing where, oh, we're the ethical ones and you guys are sleazy. But when the fact of the matter is that we're always trying to do what's right by our clients and our clients' customers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I haven't met many high-level copywriters that don't offer at least some tweaks or some revisions, some rewrites, or like an A/B test, for example.
Yeah, and it's just if you don't do it, it's bad for your street cred, right?
Yeah. This guy in the group asked a question about posting, I guess. He says that he uses, this guy here is a men's fashion guy, fashion consultant. He says, I use Twitter and email marketing to get leads. I feel like I'm at a point where I can make 20 tweets and write an email every day to my list. I'm considering where to add extra time. So should I get a better understanding of my niche, watch more content in men's style, see what's trending, B, improve my writing skills, Twitter, email to get more leads, or C, write more tweets? So he's basically looking to where he should spend more time.
He's just started?
Yeah, sort of new, yeah.
And he's a consultant?
Yeah, like a men's fashion consultant, sort of like that Tanner Guzzi guy.
Right. Well, like, and he's how much does he charge for his services in general?
I'd say it's low to mid, so I think maybe $500 to $2,000
for consultation, consultation.
Yeah, like his programs, his consults,
Okay.
etc. And I just think he wants to know because he's getting some sort of he's building some momentum on Twitter. I've seen his account. I think he's just asking where he should spend more time, like whether he should write more tweets or do something else maybe.
I mean, you tell me, bro. I feel like I waste too much time on social media as it is in general. It feels like it's more effective to work on writing guest posts for style blogs and growing your list that way. And maybe Twitter, because Twitter there's a lot of noise, right?
Yeah.
And growing your Twitter is actually very, very hard work. You need to tweet like 30 to 100 times a day. And when you grow your Twitter, it's difficult to sort of filter who's following you or who's choosing to follow you. How do you qualify the people who are following you as potential prospects or just like some random Joe Schmo who's interested in, style tips,
Style
right?
posts. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, honestly, I'm not even though I am on social media, I'm not a fan of social media in general. If I had a
Yeah.
better way of, putting myself out there, I would, you know, I would
Yeah.
do it. Yeah. So, um, again, if you're a style consultant, you can still use the traditional outbound methods, right? So, who's going to pay for style coaching? It's not going to be your average college kid, and or not even going to be somebody who's just graduated and is just starting in his job. It's going to be somebody who's more established, who's got some years under his belt. Status is important, and he's got money. Ramit Sethi teaches this thing called the I can't remember what it's called now. It's the pay certainty. Yeah, the pay certainty technique. Do they have the ability to pay, and do they have the willingness to pay? If you're on Twitter, the people that are following you most likely, maybe there's a minority who are in the range of the kind of people that you want to work with, but mostly the people on Twitter, they won't have the willingness to pay and they won't have the ability to pay.
Yeah.
Twitter is more like is a bit more like low ticket, if I want to say that, even though I'm sure there's a way to crack high ticket on Twitter if you have a strong enough like expert brand or whatever it is. But
Big brand.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen yeah I haven't seen a way to crack high ticket on Twitter, high ticket sales.
Yeah.
Um, so I would lay off the Twitter. I would maybe focus more on Facebook or even on LinkedIn. Or if you brave enough to do it, don't waste time on social media at all. Focus on doing the outbound techniques. Maybe LinkedIn, direct messaging, email, maybe even direct mail. You know,
Yeah.
what can you do in your local area, local business owners, local executives, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because really, all this social media shit is just for like online internet points. It doesn't like what you really want are clients and results at the end of the day. You know?
Yeah. And I mean, what I told him is, and I'm not sure how you feel about this, but I told him to start building a relationship because Tanner is in my program too. I was like, man, just start building a relationship with Tanner because he probably only wants high ticket clients, but he probably gets low ticket requests all the time. Like if you build a relationship, maybe do guest posts on his site, he can feed you some clients like that. Because I know my business partner, he did that with it was Craig Clemens, I think, or someone else. He reached out to him, and this guy gave him like some low ticket deals that he didn't want to deal with back when he was starting out. I mean, most guys don't think about that, but it could be a huge opportunity for him. But
Yeah.
I totally agree. Like spending time on social media, unless you know your market is on the platform, like if you know it's on LinkedIn, I think it's a waste of time. Like it's a
Yeah.
complete waste of time.
That's right. Like the old ways are especially when you're starting out, the old ways are still the best ways, and it's still building a relationship with other big websites in your niche, and then doing content collaborations with them, with a link at the bottom to some sort of lead magnet that you've created to grow your email list, and you sell them that way. That's like the original internet marketing technique, and it still works.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely works. I had someone who asked me a question for Nabil. What's your opinion, experience on handwriting high performance sales letters to get better? I've heard mixed responses. It's either the greatest thing since sliced bread or a total waste of time.
So I mean, depending on who you ask, we had a different answer. I'm big on tradition. So if the old if the olden days copywriters did it and said and taught their students to do it, and even a lot of the new guys still do it. Like, well, they're not new, but they're alive and working. Like
Yeah.
Paris Lampropoulos swears by it as well. So I would say just do it. And the thing is, anytime something is hard, you'll find people making a shit ton of excuses why it's not necessary. And
Yeah.
handwriting copy is hard. It's hard work. Yeah. So that's why people don't want to do it. And I'm sure if somebody actually put in the effort and handwrote copy for like an hour a day, first thing in the morning, you're going to see benefit. So definitely, my opinion is just do it. Just do it.
Just do it. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, there's guys who are like completely against it, and they say it's complete bullshit. But I mean, it couldn't hurt, right? I mean, it gets you in the habit of knowing how like a sales letter flows, right, or whatever it is. So this is sort of a question that we answered earlier, I think. I'm just going to ask it again because I don't know. This guy asked, he said, how do copywriting freelancers determine what type of copy is good in a given context in the absence of A/B testing?
I mean, you don't need to do A/B testing unless the amount of traffic that you're sending is a great deal. And if you're a new copywriter, you're probably dealing with clients who aren't like super high level, who have the volume that running an A/B test makes any kind of sense whatsoever.
Okay.
If that makes sense, because the thing about A/B testing is you need a lot of volume to actually have a test that's significant.
Yeah.
And all these people like I had one guy, somebody comment on Twitter, every marketer does A/B testing. This is exactly how they should test prices. Like you should A/B test or multivariate test your prices to find out which is the one that converts the best. And this was in response to a post about just raising your prices. Yeah. Um, and immediately you can tell that this person hasn't sold a damn thing in their lives, because the more complexity you add to a system, the harder it is to calibrate and get significant results from it. So in the beginning, when you're a copywriter, like you would just write one version. Maybe you will write, let's say if you're writing a landing page, you might write, you might give them 3 different options for headlines or something like that. But essentially, you're just writing one piece of copy, and then only after they've sort of tested it and given you back data, then you do any tweaks that you have to do. So I don't know if that really answers this question. You can probably confirm whether that is a satisfactory
Yeah.
answer.
I mean, it's always funny when guys say to split test when they get like, 10 views per day, right? And they're like, they create like 20 different kinds of landing pages and split test it, like do 50-50 traffic to each. I mean, that's not statistically significant at all.
Yeah, yeah, and
Sorry, go ahead.
sorry, bro. Like for example, I remember watching this webinar that Sam Ovens did, where he's like, I've sent millions of clicks to this one single landing page for the past year, and that's it's one of his like landing pages with a video and a sign up,
Yeah.
and this, he says, this landing page converts at 15%, and people tell me, oh, that's too low, but I know they're idiots, because at 15%, that's when the actual conversion to customer is best down the line. Yeah. So this is something where, I mean, it's difficult for you as a freelance copywriter to get involved in, because you don't have all of the deep back end details of the business. But there is such a thing as over optimizing each page of copy, because
Yeah.
you don't know how it's going to affect the back end sales at the end of the day, and that's the most important thing. You could have a page that's converting at 15%, and the kind of people that is converting, especially like if they get on a sales call, those are the best kinds of customers. Where another page might be converting at 40%, and when those people get on the phone, it's like shit, and the close rate completely tanks, because the quality of the person that's getting on the call is much worse. So sometimes it's not about conversion rate. Sometimes it's about finding the right mix of creative and conversion and ad and targeting or whatever that leads to the best quality customer down the line.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely create like a near 100% conversion rate page that doesn't pre-qualify, just basically does nothing. Or you can have a page that does so much pre-qualification that maybe your conversion rate's 5-10%, but they're all qualified, or most of them are qualified, right? So it's all about perspective. Um, I think that's the end of the questions that we have here. And we're running low on time anyways. So
Sure.
why don't you tell people, for those who are interested, because I'm sure there are, where they can find you, how they can work with you. Um, because again, there are a bunch of guys here who could be interested in this. So it could be very helpful for them.
Right. So my agency website is dropkickcopy.com. Personal website is nabeelazeez.com. And you could, if you go to either of those, you could sign up for my mailing list. I released a new training on my website, nabeelazeez.com/superpowers, which is 10 steps to email marketing superpowers. If you want to go and watch that, you can either watch it the whole training. It's like a 1 hour webinar. You can watch it like in one sitting, or if you sign up to the email list, you'll get like a mini email course version of it, which is the exact same information in digestible chunks sent over 10 days. So you can sign up for the email list if you want. And those of you who aren't actually copywriters, if you're an ad agency or you need copywriting work done, you can holler at me on Facebook. You can DM me. I do a lot of subcontracting. One of my biggest clients is a marketing agency. So if you need help with copy, just DM me on Facebook, and then we can see if it's a good fit. We can work something out.
So sort of like, so what niches have you worked with in the past? Like just off the bat, like I'm like again, like we know that you can work with any industry, but I'm just curious as to what are the most common ones that are recurring.
Yeah, right. So I've worked with the marketing agency. So in digital marketing is one, um, e-commerce,
Okay.
men's health, B2B, office equipment, education, automotive, real estate.
Yeah. So you're very
Um,
flexible in regards to the industries that you can work with. Yeah,
yeah,
man. Well,
because
that sounds
the
near.
marketing agency gets the clients, and then I'm the guy they call for writing the copy, right? So whoever it is, we just write the copy. And the good thing with working with a marketing agency is that you can actually look in the ads manager and see that, okay, the shit's working or not.
Yeah, that's that helps you a lot, and them as well. But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. I mean, I know you're a busy man, but thanks for stopping by. Thanks for chatting. We got a bunch of questions, so it was awesome.
My pleasure, man. Appreciate you having me on. It was
Yeah,
I was glad I could be of whatever help I was.
yeah, man, for sure. I appreciate it. All right, guys, we're gonna hop off now. Thanks for joining.